Hello everyone and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the campaign scenario Bagration from the Red Turn DLC. June the 22nd, 1944. Exactly 3 years after Barbarossa, the Soviets plan to recapture the Belarusian SSR and push the Germans back into Poland. Right. I think this is historically, this was one of the most important battles that is relatively less well known throughout the war. If I had to categorize, battles or operations based on their fame or infamy, then I would say that Bagration is almost unknown among people who are not interested in World War II in detail. And yet, I think it is one of the most important battles of the war. That's when that was basically the final nail in the coffin in the Eastern Front. Afterwards, the Axis front line was totally shattered, and yeah, it never rematerialized fully. And it had far-reaching political consequences as well, but we are not going to get into that. So, this is the first map in the middle sector of the campaign map, and also it is the first map where we so heavily outnumber the Axis forces that it's actually impossible for them to offer any meaningful resistance. From this moment on, this is going to be the case. Aside from some very isolated parts, sectors, the vast majority of the units that we face, the vast majority of situations that we face, we are going to heavily outgun and outnumber the opposition, and actually in the vast majority of the scenarios, the only challenge is to capture the objectives in time, but overcoming the resistance is going to be extremely simple. Just one look at this table already shows you what we need to know. We outnumber the Axis forces like 3-2, which is not too much, not overly much. It's not unusual. We've had better parities before. But if you look at the the armored step allocations, then it tells the tale. So the Axis has basically no armor left in this front sector. Army Group Center is going to be destroyed. Army Group Mitte. And we also have all these actions each turn, so 3 air attacks per turn, 1 logistics action per turn, which we don't need at all whatsoever. We also have, I think, altogether 2 bridging actions, limited to 1 per turn, and 2 partisans actions per turn each turn. So yeah, basically we are heavily favored. It's still not a very easy scenario, and this is not the first attempt that you're going to see. The one objective is quite difficult to hit because of the extremely unfair time limit, but yeah, as for the forces, they don't stand a chance against us. Alright, so here's the map. It's relatively large, but you can immediately see that it's quite empty. Already the Axis forces don't have a contiguous front line in the south. There are some gaps. We are not going to exploit that, just pointing out something. There is not much in-depth defense, so there is like a very weak and scattered second line. And beyond that, there is practically nothing. So, let's take a look at the objectives first, as usual. First of all, we have Orshak right beyond basically it's the second line of defense. Orsha, the only strongly held area between Minsk and Smolensk, and that's correct. This is the only strongly held area. It's to be taken by the end of turn 2. This is not at all difficult. You can have several strategies to achieve this, but I'm going to show you one that I think is very convenient and reliable. Then in the middle of the map we have Minsk, capital of the Belarusian SSR. Capturing it should cut the supply of the German forces to the east, to be captured by the end of turn 4. Right. Now this is a very difficult one to capture, not because it's held by a very weak security unit, but because the AI is going to position it only has 2 worthwhile units, these 2, and it's going to position them on river crossings in cities. And we absolutely must break through at least one of them and capture one of these supply routes that lead there. and they do have a chance of holding you off. So it is actually possible to fail this objective, even though you don't do anything incorrectly. I'll show you how I managed, and hopefully that will help. But yeah, this is the difficult objective to capture in the map. We have two further objectives. First of all, Vilna, to the northwest, capital of Lithuania and the Lithuanian SSR, right? And to the southwest, we have Baranovichi, formerly Polish city that can serve as a supply depot for operations to the west. Both of these need to be taken by the end of turn 6. And if you just look at it, you'll immediately see that if we need to capture this on turn 5, then advancing towards these cities and capturing them 2 turns later shouldn't be difficult, and it's not. So really the only challenge for you is to capture Minsk in time. Right, it's high summer, weather is not going to play a factor. You might encounter small, really small storms, but you shouldn't be worried about them. Terrain, we know this area actually from way before. From the Blackturn DLC actually, but the thing is that it's a kind of difficult terrain. So we have a lot of rivers, and we need to cross them constantly. And so first the Dnieper, then the Berezina, they both represent an obstacle. And there are a lot of forests. So this is a foresty, marshy area, swampy area, as you can see. And so that doesn't make our job very easy, to put it mildly. Fortunately, the enemy forces are not really positioned adequately for the terrain. So, as I've said, in some areas they will use this to their advantage, but in most cases we can actually just cut them down in the open. All right, supply. Now, supply is not at all interesting on this map, to be perfectly honest. You cannot really cut off the sources. There are 3 supply sources for the AI, all coming from the west and the northwest, as the supply routes enter the map. Even with the 2 partisan actions you receive each turn, it's impossible to cut all of these off, and you shouldn't worry about it really. I actually tried to do something in the end, but it's kind of silly. It's not like you can use your partisans for much else after the first turns. Our supply is similarly excellent. We have 1 supply source with a range of 4 supplying the northern front line, which is like a separate front sector. And yeah, it's on a supply line, so you can extend it, and we will have to. I'll explain it in a moment. We have another one coming from Smolensk towards the west that has a range of 8, which is our main supply source. It's really powerful. We have one in a bit further to the south, off-road, which is supplying our current front line mostly, and it serves no other purpose other than keep your units in supply here. And we have 2 further supply sources in the south as well, one on the road with a range of 6, and another one off-road again, supplying our current front line. Now, you receive 1 logistics special action per turn, which means we can upgrade one of our supply sources each turn. And this is totally pointless and unnecessary. You will never run out of supply. You can really easily secure your supply situation. I don't understand why it's in the game. It just makes it. I'm not even saying it makes it easier. It serves no purpose whatsoever. So I don't get it. We're gonna use it every turn because why not? If it's free and it's advantageous, or at least it's not detrimental. So why wouldn't we use it? But that's it basically. And now units. As you can see, the Axis forces field only infantry units, with the exception of these 2 pathetic panzer divisions. This one is not that weak. It's entrenched in a city beyond the river, so don't assault it head on. But if you manage to cross the river, then it's actually not that difficult to destroy, or if you manage to march up from the south, it's not that difficult to destroy. I actually opted to rush forward here and then erect a bridge and work my way around it. You can probably just walk ahead, really, that's not that dangerous. Most of these infantry units facing us are totally standard, with standard level experience, and yes, they're entrenched, but that's basically it. They have a few special units, like this one with the Pioneer Specialist Step, and they have 3 motorized divisions, the 25th and the 18th Panzer Grenadier Divisions, and the Feldherrnhalle, which I think should be elite, but whatever. They are the strongest units on the front line, but they're also not that dangerous, to be honest. So obviously they're better than your units, so don't underestimate them. But we have overwhelming numbers, so that's it. There is a flak here, and there is also a Sturmgeschütz here. That's basically all there is about, you know, the enemy forces. In the rear area, there are mostly Sicherung units, which we know to be pathetic and useless. And of course, there is this rear area forces, rückwärtiges Heeresgebiet Einheit, in holding Baranovici in the extreme southwest. As for our forces, we have a whole bunch of tanks. So first of all, we have a huge amount of infantry, which are mostly fully reinforced. So they have 7 steps in the most cases. There are a few weaker ones here in the south. And a lot of them have specialist steps, like our trusty favorite infantry guns, which we are going to put to good use. There are T-34s strewn in the mix. Of course, we still have the Su-76Ms, because why not? And there are 3 areas, or rather 2 areas, where we have tanks. So we have this one extra in the extreme north, but let's ignore that for now. We have this area where we have another extremely useful unit, 7 steps plus a Katyusha specialist steps and its veteran. This cavalry's unit is not bad either. So around Smolensk, we have an extremely powerful, potent strike force, and in the south, just west of Gomel, we also have another powerful strike force, more than sufficient to take care of everything and anything that the AI can throw at us. These Sturmgeschütz specialist steps won't be a problem. All right. So strategy. This map can be clearly divided into several front sectors. So let's go from north to the south. This one, you have to be very careful where you attack, so only take favorable trades. Not because we outnumber them heavily, but still, if you don't do that, then the AI is going to counterattack and actually can win in the north, I believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to achieve a breakthrough here, because this unit sits on a clear hex, and we're going to try to rush ahead and cut these units off from supply. Coupled with a push forward in the south, this means that they'll start to run dry, and once they're depleted, we'll just destroy them. We are not in any particular rush, but the only objective you might want to have is to propel this unit forward, this tank unit forward. You can actually make it cross the bridge as long as you have control of the supply line network. It will remain in supply, and then it can just rush ahead, and the infantry can clear out the supply route following the unit, so that supply catches up to it. Now, in most cases, I don't think you will succeed, but it's anyway worth trying. So that's the only challenge you can have in the north. Otherwise, this front sector is totally bogus and is inconsequential. In the middle, our first objective is to capture Orsha, of course, within 2 turns, and a direct assault is not a very good idea. So what you should be doing is you should drive around in the north of this forest, because in the forest there are some decent units, these 2 specifically. Veteran dug in and also in forests, and this one has a specialist step and this one is motorized, so don't assault them like this head on. Instead, circumvent them and capture Orsha from the back. Now, what I also highly recommend is that on turn 1, follow my lead here, specifically what I do around this area. You can break through and you can actually get to this point in the map, and if you use if you use your 2 partisan actions to extend your reach here, then the enemy supply will have to start from here and go through forests, and it will not reach these front units, and they will start to starve out, and the AI will start a general retreat, but we are going to actually advance faster than they can retreat, so obviously they'll just run out and we can just remove them off the map. In general, I haven't mentioned this, I don't think so, but in general it's a good idea to leave your partisan actions as the last step, last action to take in a turn, because when you are not going to do anything else, so you can see where you can expand on your area, where you can cut off supply, where they're needed the most, basically. Alright, so here we are just going to roughly contain them, maybe take favorable trades, and once they start running and depleting, we're just going to destroy these units. These are not important. This is actually a relatively long front line, but it's not important to capture at all, or to deal with rather. It's just an annoyance or a tedium. In the south, around Bobruisk, you have to force a breakthrough, and that's not going to be easy. So first, we are already on the other side of the river, which is great. So getting across here is not that difficult, but getting past Bobruisk is not that easy. So you either push on from the south with your tank, or you cross here. I opted for the second option. You can actually construct a bridge here, and I was even thinking about rushing towards the north, but this area is also forested, so it's not that great. So in the end, I abandoned that idea. This Panzer Division, the 12th Panzer Division, is going to capture Borisov and hold it, which is in a river band and a city hex, so it's not at all easy to capture. Once again, cross the river and assault the unit, from its side of the river, and there you might have a chance of destroying it or capturing it with these forces. In this playthrough, we barely manage in time to capture Minsk, and then this unit is also going to fall, of course. All right. That's basically it. Let's see how it turned out. We start in the north. I know exactly what I want to do here, so we breach that unit and we force a breakthrough there. You should be very, very careful to keep a contiguous front line, because otherwise the AI will exploit the situation and capture the supply source, and then your units might start to starve out, and you really want to avoid that. And also just only take favorable trades. After the first few actions, these units are already cut off, not really because they're still receiving supply from the south, but by the end of the turn they will be cut off. So don't do anything risky. There is no point to it, like you don't need to overextend or anything. Now this is safe, so we have a front line. Even if this unit crosses the river, that's fine. It's nothing it can do. And by the way, don't attack this unit in the city. It's entrenched. It's just a Luftwaffefeld infantry unit with 4 steps, but entrenched and in the city, it actually will resist you. So just starve it out, and then you can take care of it. All right, in the middle sector, the idea is very simple. Breakthrough here. That's the best. It's the best avenue of success. It is not difficult. As you can see, we are not suffering almost any losses, and propel your tanks forward. But I would make sure that they also attack, so you don't need to rush that much. And we are attacking the AA guns head on, even though it's supposed to give this unit a shift against armor, so advantage against armor. But out in the open, even entrenched, it doesn't stand a chance against our best unit. So it retreats, and we are already close to Orsha, which is great. And we are coming back to this front sector, but I switched to the south for some reason. I crossed the river, which is the obvious thing to do, and attacked the city. And we breached it. And sorry, it's not a city. I don't think it was a city. Nope, it's not a city X. I apologize. So we assaulted this unit holding the bridge, the other side of the bridge, because we really want to get across, and it retreated, so that's perfect. Now back to the middle sector. We bomb this. We have 3 air attacks per turn, but we bomb this unit twice, and thereby reducing it to just 1 effective strength. This is of course now easy to remove. And already on turn 1 we can actually do this and link up. Yep. Alright. I don't know why I didn't attack with that tank. I really hope I didn't forget to attack with this one. At least we could remove this 1 step. In the middle, we need to get to this hex just south of the victory hex or Orsha, and this is your best bet to break through. It's not at all difficult, as you are going to see. And you just have to make sure when shuffling units around that you never move that unit so it can march ahead, the one that actually breached the unit. And when this happened, what that means is that if we put our 2 partisan actions, if we apply our partisan specialist actions here, then everything in the middle is cut off. The end. Alright. Let's see now. We also want to, once again, we want to make favorable trades. Unfortunately, I cannot finish off that unit, but in this turn, but it's okay because it's not going to be resupplied. So a suppression damage, any suppression damage we deal is actually permanent. So don't worry about leaving units like that. And as I've said in the south, I don't like going through the forest. Instead, I opt to clear out this area, and then afterwards we are going to push our way across the river here at Bobruisk. We already captured the source here, and that's another key factor. If we capture this hex, then we definitely make sure all these units do not receive any supply. None of these units receive any supply here, because, you know, even though they were supplied from both areas, we cut them off from both sides. So that's awesome. All right, we don't want to assault units that are dug in, and we actually still had one air attack when I used it on this unit, which was absolutely excellent because it KIA'd one step, so it actually destroyed a quarter of its strength for free, so that's awesome. I raised the range of this supply source because why not? There is not much point to it. You can raise either or any of your supply sources. I recommend raising the ones that are on the road, on the supply line network, so you have some effect. This is the strongest, so once we link everything up, it's going to be even more powerful, but again, this is not really important. And I did forget to attack with this one. Brilliant. I could have at least removed this weak unit, but I guess I just was forgetful. It was an oversight. It doesn't really matter. After a bit of reshuffling, we secure our front line and we're okay. These units are already out of supply. They would be out of supply anyway, so it's not because of any of our actions. And they will start to retreat, and we will catch them and just destroy them on the way. Now, as you can already see, these AI units in this pocket, this huge pocket, are all cut off, out of supply. Now, granted, these are not very strong or dangerous or powerful or important units, but there's a lot of them. So once we remove them, then you're going to just start to see how quickly this resistance crumbles and just evaporates. And even though we didn't really face much so far, it's going to be even more pathetic by each turn. So the AI, of course, positions its tank here as promised. It always does this on its first turn, and as I've mentioned, it starts to try to retreat back to the supply source here as well, and everywhere basically. That's the main motto for the AI. Try to retreat to the supply source, with this exception of this attack. But it also has to retreat here because it's in danger of being cut off. And yeah, that's basically all the AI does. Tries to put up a front line where it believes that the supply will reach. It is of course wrong. On this turn we can cut them off here as well, so the fate of these units is doomed, is sealed. And actually in the next turn they won't be able to attack, so that's awesome. Alright, our turn 2. We switch here. This unit walked out into the open, so I try to bomb it. Nothing happens. I think it's in the open. Let me check. Yep. But the second bombing run resulted in 3 suppression, which is awesome. And so we attack it with this cavalry unit, and we managed to destroy the Pioneer Specialist step, which was great. Which this means that this unit is no longer strong or dangerous or anything, as you know, just 3 steps strong. It will be reinforced, but we don't care. We destroy this unit before it gets resupplied, just out of spite. And as I've said, I had a plan originally to rush through here. Actually, the objective for these units would be to attack Borisov from the back, but I will give up on that, and instead I just join the push at Bobruisk and reach Minsk from the south. Alright, a bit more reshuffling. We are not afraid that these units will start to march forward. There's a river here. If they do, they will immediately run out of supply, and we can just, you know, eliminate them with ease. Now it's turn 2, so we actually need to capture this city. The cavalry attacks and then captures this very important hex. At this moment, supply is cut off at this river, at the Berezina, for the axis everywhere, meaning all of these units are forfeit. We just need to wait. We don't have time to wait actually, so we should destroy them wherever we can. But we are going to, our situation is going to improve automatically every turn, each turn. Alright, let's attack the Victory Axe with our best unit. That was pretty underwhelming. Then let's subject it to bombardment. That goes better, of course, obviously. And we destroy it, and we sit one of the infantry guns in there, so that if the AI decides to counterattack, this unit will definitely be able to defend itself. So these two units might try to counterattack. We're going to actually try to take care of them still on this turn. But in any case, this is actually an excellent unit. 7+1 steps with the infantry gun in a city would be a formidable opponent. Alright, this unit is kind of in the way, so let's destroy it. It's not a huge achievement. It sure isn't. Bang. But we are making sure that we select our battles, you know, where we fight our battles. Another thing is that this unit sits on our supply line hex, so the AI likes to do that. And so I decide to destroy it, and now our supply runs up until and including the Victory Hex of Orsha, and also on the other side of the river, so everything looks neat. And then we still had one bombing run left, one air attack left, so I attacked the city. It had a malus of 1 or 2, so I didn't expect a good result, but we actually managed to suppress 3 steps. Unfortunately, we cannot capitalize on this result. I was really sad about that, so this unit will be back to full supply the next turn, but whatever. And now we use our partisans. There is nothing we can use them on, so I just try to cut off this this area. It's not going to have so it's not going to result in anything favorable for us. I want to advance. This is not, strictly speaking, it's not important. Like we are going to be fine here, even if these units don't get anywhere. Our units, I mean. The AI will just be weaker each turn, and yeah, so I don't care. We are not afraid of losing any supply sources or anything of the sort. This is a swampy area, and this unit won't be able to attack the next turn, so we are safe. It won't be able to move much. If it moves out, we'll just destroy it. But it's dug in, and I just didn't want to bother with it. It will get progressively weaker with each turn, so what's the rush? Right. Yeah, we could have destroyed that unit, straggler unit, in the previous turn. And now I do something. I do something a bit brave. Crossing the river, and I'm hoping that we will be able to rush ahead the next turn. We won't be able to take out this unit the next turn, not yet, at least. But yeah, we are trying to advance, and we receive steps, a few steps, also tank steps. So we are going to use them as well. I think all of my tank units were full, so that's why I haven't used them. But we did receive the steps, and once we get damaged, or we suffer casualties, then we are actually going to replace them. Anyway, this is our final setup for turn 2. This tank is not in an ideal position, but we made sure that we secure our supply route, at least up until here. We also made sure that the tank is out of supply, unfortunately. We also made sure that everything is sealed away, so sooner or later, eventually, these units will be total wastes. Alright. Obviously, the AI likes to cut us off, so it cut off these 3 units from supply. This is totally worthless. These units will be... All the units that were cut off will be back to in full supply the next turn. I mean, we will reconnect them and destroy these obstacles, these human obstacles that the AI put up. And it actually retreats out of the city. It tries to retreat back to supply. It's totally fruitless. There is no way it can go back, so we are going to... We don't need to worry about these movements. And so many units are cut off that the best idea for the AI to reinforce this unit, it receives 1 step as reinforcements. This is not going to cut it, obviously. Alright. Our turn 3. Obviously, these units are officially out of supply, but we are obviously going to reconnect them, so they are not in any danger whatsoever. It's time to already start mopping up on turn 3, but we also need to do one further thing, which is kind of crucial. We need to break through here, or ideally at both places. We only manage around Bobruisk. We managed to destroy this weak unit that was holding the river line here. We actually, this was a deliberate attack. We breached the tank, and yes, it was a costly battle, but it was, in my opinion, worth it. And I start bombing it even though I receive a malus, but the bombings runs were extremely successful, and yeah, with the units fully suppressed, we can just destroy it. We can destroy this unit as well. It has an ISU, our tank had an ISU 122 specialist steps, so it's a very powerful unit indeed. And now the front line is there is no longer any front line from the Axis side here. I wouldn't consider this one unit a front line. This one is depleted. It will never get back to supply. So let's just advance along the supply route even, so we are not even in any danger of being cut off. And I decide to go after this weekend unit. This is the least important battle of the whole scenario, so I don't care about the results really. As long as we win, I don't care about losses. Alright, and now let's turn to the north. We have a few objectives. I want to clear out the whole supply route, and I want to, including this hex, so I want to connect up. This shouldn't be that difficult. This unit moved into the Victor X, but it's no longer entrenched, and and we have all the units in the world that we can throw at it. So we do. It resists us. It even managed to repulse this unit, but once again, it's destroyed. It was fully suppressed. It's destroyed, and we capture Vitebsk, which means that our supply runs up until this point, this unit exactly. Now let's reconnect here, so that we're all good. That's also not going to be very difficult. We even advance. All right, 2 KIA. And one final assault, and we're done. And we actually have enough units if we shuffle around to ensure that the AI cannot harm us. Don't forget that these units won't be able to attack the next turn, so it doesn't matter what we use here to block them. I mean, none of our units are that weak, to be honest, but we don't really have to worry about that, because these 3 units won't be able to. None of these units will be able to attack here east of the Berezina. Alright, we still don't want to waste our time waiting for them to just deplete by themselves, so let's assault them, even their best units. And yeah, that was a suicide attack, but it's fine. It's not like that unit could have been used later for much else. Now we really want to keep, assaulting here, and but the bombing run this time whiffed, so there is not much we can do about it. Assaulting this unit head-on would be a very bold idea. So instead, I try to create a breach here and cross it around here. Unfortunately, you cannot create a breach closer, so this is quite a big detour, and you should link up anyway because of the supply. Anyway, we need to secure our supply route, so we need to at the very least destroy these 2 units, and then and make sure that these stragglers from the middle sector don't cause any problems. Of course, the northern units are not scary or not dangerous at all. Yep. We make sure that we occupy the city, just in case of any eventualities. You don't need to put a strong unit there. And now we're just trying to mop up. These units are, the Axis units are not fully out of supply, but it's not. Our units won't be needed anywhere else, so we have all the time in the world, all the opportunities in the world to just do this. And I reinforce the supply here so that it reaches every unit that I, that's where I thought that we had the greatest distances from the supply line network for some units. And we can assault head-on. We really don't care about losses. We are absolutely not in danger of anything. So why not just push ahead? Ding. All right. I still use the partisans because why not? Why wouldn't I use them? And I still have a few units left to move with, and a few reinforcements to allocate. Now this is the furthest point the tank could go, and that's actually really great. If we manage to keep hold of this supply line, which should be the case, then it will be resupplied, and on turn 3 it can dash ahead, and this second this infantry unit is actually going to reconnect the supply route behind it, so it will be constantly in supply, and its goal is to assist in the siege of Vilnius. Alright, turn 3 for the AI. These units are fully depleted. This unit is also fully depleted. These units in the north cannot attack and half depleted, are half depleted. And the extreme south, this unit is forfeit as well. So at this moment it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units that can assault. Of course it's not a very scary group. It still cuts us off because of course it doesn't matter at all. We knew this would happen, but we don't care. It's still trying to crawl back into supply. I like the idea of the AI, you know, the tenacity of trying to crawl back till the end. Yeah, I actually did this second move because it still had one movement point left and there was nothing better I could allocate it to, so I decided to just come here. It makes no sense. But our supply actually reaches up until this point at the moment. And it's turn 4. On turn 4 we need to capture Minsk, so it will also reach around here, in my opinion. Alright, so on this turn we absolutely must capture Minsk, so let's get to it. We bomb it. Of course it's in a city and it's entrenched, so we receive a big malus, but 2 suppression is okay. I decide to try to test my luck, and we don't get the city in ruins at the least, but we don't get any further results either. What we breached it, and we are actually going to attack it across the river, and now that this unit is considered weak, it has less than 2 active steps. It means that it doesn't confer any areas of zones of control, which means that we can walk up to it, destroy it, and we can occupy the city, so our movement points are not lost when we get next to it. That's crucial. And so on turn 4 we managed to capture Minsk, and since there is nothing threatening the city, I mean, I really hope we can take care of this unit, or at the very least isolate it. I don't think it can get in. There is a breach here which we are protecting, obviously, so it will definitely not cut through this unit. It could assault it, cause it casualties, but it will not mow it down, and it won't make it around the river bend either, so that would be too far to get. So we immediately launch our assault forwards. And I'm still unhappy that this unit is here, so we assault it, and I think it had like a 10% chance or something like that to get the city in ruins, but we of course managed to get unlucky. Now this unit is even more defended, and I'm not happy about it. I still try to assault it across the river. As you can see, this went horribly, so I give up on the idea. This is fine. Now we're certainly blocking its path, so this is doomed, and of course in the next turn we can assault it from from its side of the river, so from a bit more favorable area. Everywhere else we just want to mop up. Everywhere else we really just want to mop up. The only exception maybe is to reconnect the supply line. As you can see, this is not a not a difficult challenge. Yeah, and here's when the fun starts. We have captured the difficult victory hacks, and now the only objective is to clear out the map and to capture the easy victory hexes, so the 2 final ones. So we must hurry, but there is no opposition whatsoever. The only unit that could attack and move is this one, because the AI never moves out of the victory hex. So as you can see, we're clearing house. So yeah, this is not. There is no strategic genius here. Even in the north we are going to destroy them. This unit is really in a relatively good position beyond the river and I think on a forest hex, but it's so much weakened that we can just destroy it anyway. This unit is out in the open waiting to be overrun, I guess. Yeah, and okay, the final one in the north. This is actually going to resist us, but we don't care. We don't need these units for anything else whatsoever in the whole game. So any losses we suffer is fine, and we isolate it survives. Interestingly, we of course isolate it, and that is also excellent. Alright, we once again raise the range of our supply source here, just for fun. This is the one supplying our forwardmost units. I actually almost forgot about this unit here, stuck still east of the Dnieper, the final one, the 267th heroic German infantry division is now destroyed. And at this moment, yeah, there is not much to worry about. I'm going to reorganize a few, weaker units so that I don't need to worry about them. And as usual, I entrench in the city. Whereas with the rest, I'm just actually going to advance, just in case. I don't want to reorganize them. So what can you do? And as I've mentioned before, we actually have received some armored steps. So I allocated them to this unit. We also use our partisans actions. I actually wanted to try to starve out Baranovici a bit. I never succeeded. In the end, it was too late. So, I mean, we actually managed to cut it off the next turn, but already, you know, on turn 6 we have to capture the city, so there's no much point to it. Okay, the AI did nothing except for one thing. It conferred one reinforcing step to this rear area forces German infantry. We are now going to cut it off using our partisans, and this is a perfectly sealed off area. Supply runs through here through these forest hexes. It doesn't reach the city, so that suppress step is never going to turn active. And now it's just time to, you know, assault the final victory axis. 2 suppression. And let's assault it. Bang, breached 2 KI. On the next turn, it should be easy pickings. Let's remove the 12th Panzer Division. It's been very annoying, indeed. And we finally do, and the supply line is reconnected from the north as well, northeast rather as well. We still have 2 bombing runs, so let's use them on this unit. There is nothing else nowhere else we can use them, so why not? They totally whiffed, but that's fine. We're not like in any danger. A one-on-one trade is perfect. All right, I guess that would be it. The rest of these actions that I take are all aimed at clearing out the map. Oh, sorry, we destroyed that straggler. 1 step, suppressed step, and depleted unit in the north as well. And I'm just having fun. I'm enjoying the fact that we won. This unit got back into supply. We arranged the supply. Now all the lines are connected, so of course we are raising the strength of the power of the strongest one. And as you can see, we are in supply practically everywhere, which is perfect. There is not much to talk about or worry about. The AI cannot do anything, so it won't. It got resupplied. We don't care. It's no longer entrenched. It has 2 steps. It's a Sicherung unit. Here it did not get resupplied, so it has 3 steps to defend the city with, entrenched. And now on our turn, we just mash our faces against it. And of course, at this moment, I know we can capture the city. Obviously, it's empty. We're right next to it. So we can use all 3 assaults, air attacks on the final objective, on Baranovici. And yeah, this one whiffed. And the final one actually turns the city into ruins, but we also suppress the final steps, so we can just overrun them and win. I didn't clear out more of the map because I didn't feel like it. I think it was the 3rd attempt in a row, actually. So right back to back, so that's why. All right, this was the campaign scenario Bagration. I like this map a lot, even though it's a bit challenging to capture Minsk and you have to get through these river crossings here. The main front line is very easy. If you're struggling with it, I understand it. Then you can just copy my general strategy or actions. You might also want to try capturing Bobruisk from the south. If you're lucky, I think that's the intended method anyway. As you can see, you can do it from the northeast as well. It's not a difficult idea. Yeah, first avoid this forest, then clear it out and cut these units off, and this whole pocket will collapse. In the north, just make sure that your units are not decimated, not annihilated, so only take favorable trades, and sooner or later, eventually the AI will be cut off. And push to the west. Minsk is really hard to capture on turn 4, but everything else is actually pretty easy. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time as well. Bye bye.